so welcome to the wrap-up interview from the New South Wales VIC State of Origin Round 3 at Rocky Valley. Today we are joined by Glenn Eggleton from New South Wales, also the Fly Fish Australia President, who placed third last weekend. And we also have, wait for it, Tom Jarman from Victoria, who managed to win his third consecutive Victoria competition. Welcome, Tom.
Thanks, Bella.
Thank you both for taking the time to chat to me. Tom, as I said, this is your third consecutive Victorian win. You're really cementing your place in the leaderboard this competition season. How did you find the conditions at Rocky Valley last weekend?
Rocky Valley is really unpredictable and it's really changeable because it's such a high alpine lake. It was really windy on day one and it was quite cool. And then day two, it was very bright. It was bright the whole day, completely different. Very windy in the morning, then very little wind, and it kept swirling and dropping out in the afternoon. So it just changed quite a lot over the weekend.
Yeah, right. That does sound quite tricky. Did you have anything to add to that, Glenn?
No, I think that's a pretty accurate description of the conditions. I mean, Rocky Valley is very much probably the closest lake that I'm aware of to a sort of Scottish or UK Highland lake.
Yeah, great. Excellent. So fishing always throws up some challenges, no matter where you're fishing or how you're fishing. What were some of the challenges you both faced during the competition? Glenn, how about we start with you?
The biggest challenge, I think, is that over the passage of 4 sessions, the fish change. They become more suspicious and they move off the shore. They're hammered by, in this case, 34 anglers for a long period of time. And that means that their behaviour changes during the 4 sessions. And the biggest challenge is trying to combat that change.
What about you, Tom? What did you find challenging?
I think what Glenn said is accurate. They get tougher and tougher, always that comp, because they get hit pretty early and then the numbers drop away. I found the fish went up and down in the water column a bit. They were up and then they were down, then they were up, and that was kind of hard. Yeah, judging where you wanted to fish at them. And also they were consistently inconsistent around the lake. Like there were shorelines and areas that held fish, and then there were identical shorelines in areas that looked exactly the same, had the same structure, and they just weren't fish. So that was kind of hard, rolling around and covering water.
Right. So what did you do to combat these challenges and be so successful, the pair of you?
Glenn, you go.
Well, I think I was somewhat fortunate, really. One session I was heading for a blank and only caught 2 fish in the last 7 minutes by finding a piece of shore that I knew hadn't been fished. It was only a section about 100 yards long that hadn't been fished in the 2 previous sessions. And so we went there in the last 15 minutes and caught a couple of fish. So that was fortunate. But finding any part of the lake that hasn't been fished is a big advantage.
Yeah, for sure. And so what sort of techniques, what flies did you use to get those last 2 in the last 7 minutes?
Well, the last one, I had been fishing unweighted flies on a sweep 5 line, and that had been working. They were sort of traditional English wets. And in that new location, I caught 1 fish on one of those, but I noticed that my boat partner had a fairly flashy fly on. I'd been fishing quite dull flies. So in the last 5 minutes, I put on a very flashy fly and managed to catch another fish on that. So got to try and watch what your boat partner's doing.
Yeah, especially if they're catching more fish than you.
That's right.
And what about you, Tom?
I was the same as Glenn. I fished 2 traditional English wets and 1 streamer, pretty much the whole comp. And I fished very drab flies. I don't think the flies like how I said, the fish were patchy. I didn't think it mattered what you fished, so long as you found the fish. So that was like my only objective, was just moving and finding fish. And like, it showed in that all my boat partners caught fish. Like, there were a few blanks and a lot of people struggled, and the person who happened to be in the boat with me, caught a lot of fish as well. So it just didn't really matter what you had on, because we were both catching them. So it was just finding the fish for me.
Great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, that was a brilliant wrap up, I guess, of your session on the weekend. Last but not least, it'd be great to hear what your highlights and favourite parts of the weekend were. Glenn?
Well, my last session was very enjoyable, I found. I fished because I wanted to try something different, and I was determined to try and catch some fish in the last session. I fished 3 dry flies, sedge hogs and a leggy half hopper. And I fished those on a midge tip line, and trying to catch the fish on dries was a lot of fun, because some of them would just slash at it, some of them would porpoise over the top of it. But fortunately, 3 of them actually ate the flies quite well. So I did enjoy that part of the fishing.
Excellent. Fantastic. And what about you, Tom?
I was the same. The only fly changes I made all weekend was putting dries on in the afternoon for a little period, and I caught 1 fish on a dry in each session, but which was cool because they rose and just covered them and caught them. But I think my first session and last session, first session I got like 14, just hitting shorelines, and I had never fished that shoreline ever in a comp before. I was just running around, and I just lucked onto a patch of fish where I'd never fished before, and they were there, so they were fresh. Rebecca and I caught a lot of fish late, so that was really good.
That sounds fantastic. I think, was it 19 in the first session?
Yeah, our boat got 19 in 3 hours there. Yeah.
Wow, fantastic. Excellent. Thank you both so much for joining me. It was great to hear your competition results and all your techniques, etc. And congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you both again soon.
Okay, thank you very much, Bella.
Beautiful.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.